If you are struggling to make changes that you want in your life, you are feeling stuck or overwhelmed, or maybe overwhelmed, then you are in the right place. And today we have a real special treat. We are so excited to show you a preview of the new documentary that is hot off the presses, just out. It's called The Real Science of Transformation by Peter Sage. And so we are going to spend 10 minutes or so on a clip from the documentary on why people struggle so much to transform and make changes that are permanent in their life. And we're going to follow that up with a little bit of the foundation on the science behind ruling reality. And if you have any questions, you can pop them into the chat. Or if you want, you can wait till we're finished and ask your questions. If you're live, you can ask questions at the end. All right. Are we ready to go? It's Deb, and I'm going to start the video. So let's get going. Let me see. Of course, I want to get it right here.
Just over a year ago, when I was in a really, really bad place. Sorry.
No, please, it's okay.
I lost my husband 2 years ago. It happened very suddenly. The following year, I went straight to work, and we didn't have kids, so it's just me, and I was just alone. You need to start doing some of the work that you can't just hide behind your grief. I started putting the work in, here, and things started changing in my outer world.
And have a relationship that's based upon unconditional love, rather than trying to fill a gap inside because you're lonely or upset or feel somebody else will be the answer to your problems. How do you do that? You understand that the number one law when it comes to relationships is, and always has been, that nobody can ever love you more than you love yourself. So why do so many people struggle to transform? Why do so many people who commit to wanting to improve their life know what to do, but just don't do what they know? In other words, they procrastinate, they self-sabotage, they become their own worst enemy. They buy into that limiting voice, that fear of doubt that questions whether they're good enough or whether they're really deserving. And that really fascinated me because it's not down to lack of intelligence or lack of desire. It's down to something else. And the best way to explain it is when we really understand that the unconscious behaviors that drive us are really the key differentiators between people that really transform and those that struggle in and out of different levels of temporary change.
So my story starts in 2018 when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. From that day, that was the first day in my life that I was blessed with the curse, but also I was able to realize that I was lost as a person, right? Stuck in those cycles of life, I was able to, look at myself and say it's time for change. I was always telling myself that brighter days were coming ahead,
What really breaks my heart is seeing people know they have to change, knowing that they don't want to settle for what they've currently got, but doing nothing about it. How long are you going to be okay not being okay? Now, Mel Robbins is famous for creating what she called the 5-second rule. She said, if you don't take action within 5 seconds of knowing that you need to take action, your chances of following through on that diminish exponentially. And you see so many people that have normalized mediocrity. Now, why has that got to stop now? Simple. we're no longer moving at the pace that history has moved at for the last even decade, with artificial intelligence now coming in, replacing even industries overnight, with people just thinking it's going to get better, or I'll just keep doing what I'm doing because they don't have the courage to be able to step forward, face their fears and say, you know something, I am done playing small. I am done paying rent. I am done settling for less than what I'm doing. It's time, my time. When you feel that, right, that's when life changes. And until you feel that, you're going to wake up, look in the mirror and see more of the same. Now, the inner world versus outer world balance sheet is a fascinating concept, but it really allows people to understand why they consistently struggle. Now, if we take the outer world, most people are familiar with the concept of a balance sheet. You have two sides. You have assets on one side, things like houses or stocks or money. And on the opposite side, you have liabilities, things like debts or taxes or things that you have to pay. Now, one of the issues around that is that if you have more assets than liabilities, you're positive. If you have more liabilities than assets, you're negative. Now, we get that. But what about the inner world balance sheet? You see, that also has assets and liabilities. The inner world assets would be things like your personality, your high levels of values, your level of consciousness or awareness, your ability to form good habits, your self-discipline, your positivity. But you also have liabilities, which are the opposite of those. Things like lack of discipline, lack of motivation, self-centeredness or selfishness. You could go on and on. Now, the challenge is this. If you have a negative inner world balance sheet, you are not going to be able to create a positive outer world balance sheet. Why? It's very similar to say that we have two different bank accounts, an emotional bank account and a financial bank account. And most people's financial bank account follows their emotional bank account. In other words, they have a high bank account and their emotional high is there. If they lose some money or they have a low financial bank account, their emotional bank account is also low. But it doesn't work that way. The law states outer world follows inner world. In other words, if you want to have a high physical bank balance, you need to have a high emotional bank balance first. Why? Because your emotional bank account is a leading indicator of your financial bank account, not a lagging indicator. And when people understand that, they start to realize the cycle that they've been trapped in, staring at the mirror with a frown on their face, wondering why it's not smiling back.
How do I improve from where I'm at to get to where I'm going? And more than anything else, how do I help my vision shape that reality that I want? And so in watching Peter Sage and listening to the program, I thought, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And so I signed up for the program, and 6 months later, so many things have changed, starting with me, where I've been able to get out of my own way. I've been able to open doors that I didn't think were possible. I didn't even know what manifesting was before the program. And I can confidently say multiple times where I have manifested things that started in my head that I have turned into reality, or the universe has helped me turn into reality. And so with that, all it takes is once. You do that once and you're hooked. It's like, okay, I can do it once. And if I can do it once, I can do it again.
Now, over the last several years, especially with things like The Secret and the popularity of Law of Attraction, you've really had this polarizing effect where people are saying it's all in the head versus, well, no, it's real. So we really wanted to address that. Why? Because if something happens once, it's an incident. If it happens twice, it's a coincidence. But if it continues to happen, then it's based upon a pattern, and patterns are governed by a rule set. The fact that we're familiar with a physical rule set is one thing, but the non-physical is also governed by a rule set. And one of the things that we teach very early on in the Elite Mentorship Forum is to really understand the power of decoding that rule set. And this isn't done on some woo-woo level. We bring in some of the faculty in terms of NASA nuclear physicists, people that have spent years, millions of dollars of research that have gone into understanding the different levels of science that now underpin what we call circumstantial reality creation. And you don't have to learn everything about that in order to benefit. I don't know anything about how electricity works, but I'm happy to flick a light switch and get the result. You don't need to know about the sciences behind manifestation, digital physics, the latest in noetic sciences or ontology. But we will teach you the steps so that all you simply can do is flick the light switch and get the result. And that blows people's minds.
All right. So we are back again. We've just watched about a 10-minute clip from the documentary, excuse me, The Real Science of Transformation. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the very first step, which is looking at your reality. And so I'm going to start with a question for you. Have you ever had the feeling that someone or something is looking out for you? It's like a higher power, you're not sure. Well, I've always kind of believed in the back of my mind that there was a universe at play, but I never gave it a lot of thought until I started watching and listening and learning from Peter Sage in the power, this real science of transformation. And the very first module in the program is actually setting the stage on ruling reality. And I got to say, our reality isn't what you think it is. And so for me, one of the whole thing about coincidence, I'm going to tell you a little story that happened to me that really brings this to light and shows kind of a positive confirmation that it's out there. So I had a trip to London, England to visit my kids. My one daughter had moved to London, England, and I was going there. And I live in Toronto, and 2-hour drive from where I live is London, Ontario. And I booked a flight to Gatwick and return flight. And I am the kind of person that I book my flight. I know I've got my email. I'm ready to go. When I'm ready to check in, like 24 hours before my flight, I'll find that email again and I'll do my check-in. And I was leaving on the Monday, and something on Friday really drew me to actually go and look at that email and find it. And I never do that. But for some weird reason, I don't even know why, I was called to actually check out my email. And I started looking at it, and it looked pretty funny. It was like, this doesn't make any sense. The times, they just didn't jive. So I looked a little closer, and here I found out I had actually booked my flight from London, Ontario to Toronto instead of London, England to Toronto. And I am so grateful for whatever, however, why ever I was called to that email on that Friday night, because I was able to fix it and everything worked out okay. And it didn't even cost me more than, I think, $50 extra to rearrange my booking and come fly from London, England to Toronto. Because if I would have found that out within the 24 hours, I would have really had a pickle on my hands. So I was really grateful. And I just want to know, can you relate to, and do you have your own story about some little coincidence that something is just edging you to kind of think twice or do something that you normally don't do? Or maybe you end up in a place where you don't expect to be and you meet somebody and it just all is like, wow, I can't believe this happened. And so we're talking now about ruling reality. And what is our reality? I'm going to talk about the kind of what our physical reality and where science is. And I know Peter in the documentary says that there is science behind this. And so I'm going to talk about where science has come from, and then I'm going to pass it over to Deb to talk about where we're at now and what we found in science. And so the start of this is, if you think about matter, we have, like, if you start with our body and then you dive, I guess, go deeper to a granular level. From our body, we have cells, we have organs and cells, and then we have molecules, and those molecules are made up of atoms, and there are subparticles in those atoms. And that basically is the limit of our understanding of matter. And all of this was formed through the Newtonian model of reality. And so that model is actually a theory that was came up about 100 years ago. That the world is made up of atoms, and then we know that the atoms are made up of protons and neutrons and electrons. And so this theory is actually made from observation. So the observations of how the atom is came from the idea that we have a sun, and then we have stars and planets that revolve around the sun. And that's where that theory came from. And the thing is, it was never actually, it's a hypothesis, and it's never actually been proven. And so if you look at if you go to an electron microscope and you look to see the atoms, you actually don't see them. Not the way that we kind of have them pictured in our head, like a little, like you said, the nucleus and the electrons flying around it. And if you were able to actually take all of the space, there's empty space between the nucleus and the electrons. Our In reality, 99.99999% of that atom is nothing. It's just thin air, and only 0.000001% is actually matter. And if we were actually able to take out all the empty space out of those atoms and molecules, and we did that for all of the humans on the planet, we would all fit, all the matter, the real material matter would fit on one sugar cube. So take that one. We could fit on a sugar cube if you took away all the empty space. And that's kind of mind blowing. And another way to look at it is, if you think about TV, and we have our TV, when you're sitting, I don't know, 5 feet away from the TV, you see people, and they're doing stuff, and there's music and everything. But if you were to actually be able to go in closer and dive in deeper, all those people and all of what we see on the TV is LED lights. And so when you get closer and you go up close and magnify, it's not people anymore. It's just lights that are flashing at whenever they are on. So it's kind of a on off switch. And that's really what our reality is about. And that's kind of where we're at. But then the question is, what if that's only a theory and we can fit on a sugar cube? If you really think about it, what does that mean for reality? That's kind of messed up. So I'm going to pass it over to Deb, because she's going to talk a little bit about that reality.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. That is a lot of technical information and things that we didn't really think about. Everything that we see that's physical would fit on a sugar cube. Right? And so that does tie exactly into what I'm going to talk about. So logically, right, we know that we experience life through our five senses, right? We're very logical people, us men and us women, right? And we do experience life through our senses. But I feel like a lot of us, including myself, have always sensed, isn't there just something else though? Like, I feel like there's more meaning to life than just get more stuff, right? And there's more to life than all these physical things that we have. But we're not quite sure what that is. Like, what is this other thing, right? And so I've come to understand some of this going through the EMF and talking to Peter Sage and attending his seminars and things. And I hope that some of it will resonate with you a little bit. Because although we're all experiencing the life that we have right now, it is possible to create a different experience of our life going forward. The key to it, though, is choosing where we're going. So, have you ever played a video game? And I know there's going to be some of you out there who say no, but I'm pretty sure all of us are familiar with video games, right? And in the games, there's a character, right? And he's just going along, right? Going with the game, but he's not in control of what happens in the game. And he's unaware of the rules of the game. The person that's in control is the person with the controller. Imagine that, right? So if we look at our lives and our experience as we are the character in the game, but our consciousness and our awareness is the controller. So if we can learn to become more aware of what we're creating in our life and how to do that, then we can control our experience more. And that is something that even in the short little snippet of the documentary that we just watched that Peter alluded to, that like, this seems so out there, so crazy, right? Like, what? And we don't have to understand all of the technical terms and how it actually works, but we can learn how to use the tools to create our life and be really intentional about it. And we keep saying out there, right? But even Albert Einstein himself said, there is no out there, out there. We're in the out there. We're part of the out there. We're all part of the out there. And we have to realize that. um, and I know I do. I know when I first started listening to some of this, I, I can only assume some of you are like, what are you guys talking about? Right? And it is, it's there are thoughts that we have not been exposed to before. I think if you look around today, more and more people are talking about it, like when they're saying manifesting, right? Which I think I hear the word a lot. And I'm not sure everybody truly understands it. Manifesting, though, isn't saying, I want $1,000,000 and you put your hands out and poof, $1,000,000. It's not magic. But if you can start to envision, again, when things happen, right? Instead of saying, if I get the new job, then I'm going to be able to go on that vacation I always wanted. If instead you just change the language to, when I get the new job, I'm going to go on that vacation I've wanted to. And we've talked about this before in our lives and on all of our things. It's our language impacts our experience so much because it follows the rules of the universe. I actually heard an amazing talk today where this person said that the universe always says yes to you. But if you're always saying, I want more money, I want more love, I want more whatever, happiness, joy, right? The universe will give you more want for the money, more want for the joy, the more want for the love. But if you can change it to, when I have more money, when I have, and then you take actions that support that you're working towards it and you're going in a very specific direction, it will show up for you. And these are some really complex concepts. We could spend a whole week talking about these things. But basically, our physical reality, like Debbie was saying, the hard stuff, right? That's kind of like the subset to the game of life. But the superset, the bigger part of it, is our consciousness and our awareness. So Reality is the game, right? That's what we're trying to create in our reality. And how we get there, though, is by raising our consciousness and our awareness. Um, and what I'd like to say is level up your life, because you are the creator of your own adventure. So you have to take control of your adventure instead of just letting it control you, and stop reacting to everything that's happening in your life, but choose how you're going to act in the scenes of what's happening right now in your life. So I know some of that sounded really out there, but given a chance, we can explain it a little bit more so you can try it out for yourself, because I was skeptical when I first heard this. I think a lot of people are. And like I said, I know that we are all logical beings here. We all make decisions based on logic. And not all of this sounds very logical. But if you can be open minded enough to give it a try, I think you could see some amazing changes. Just like the people in the documentary stated, they weren't exactly sure it would work, but it was worth a try. And when they tried it, they got amazing results. So, that's what I'm hoping for everyone, that everyone decides to be the creator of their adventure and learn the rules to create your life. So, Debbie, I think you're going to close us out for tonight,
All
right?
right. So
Oh, we were going to do some questions. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if Delia, if you have any questions, or if you at this point, I will take silence as a
No, I'm
no.
good. I'm good.
You're
Thank you.
good? Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we gave you a snippet of this documentary, and if you check out the link in the description, you will also find a link to watch the whole documentary. So I encourage you to watch the documentary in full. And if you have any questions or you want to know more, then you can DM either Deb, either one of us, and we would be happy to give you some information on it. I also just want to say that we are both elite mentorship trainers. Uh, the program is a 6-month program that Peter Sage does, the Elite Mentorship Forum, and that's what you're hearing about. But we are trainers, and we are doing our first group or cohort starting soon. And we are looking for 2 people to join us on that journey. And we will, because it's our first time, you won't find a better opportunity than that to join us. So if you are interested in joining us on that journey, then you can also talk to us, DM us, and let us know that you are interested in finding out more, and we will have a chat with you and see if it's a good fit. But again, we're only looking for 2 more people, and would love to have you if you're interested. All right. So I think that wraps us up for this evening, and we will be back again next Wednesday with another exciting topic. And hope you enjoyed the documentary and watch the whole thing, and let us know what you think. Leave some comments too. All right. Bye for now.
Have a great night. Nice meeting you, Delia.
Thank you. You too. Bye.